Hi, and welcome to Stokes and Mathews Media presents the roadmap. Let's start that over. Hi, and welcome to Stokes and Mathews Media presents the Authorpreneur's Roadmap to Success. Tonight we are interviewing Pam Perry. Now she is a marketing guru, a PR guru, and she has had clients that have been on several successful platforms. But before we get into that, I am Nicole Stokes, and this is my partner, Nadia Mathews. And
Hello.
together we came together with Stokes and Media. We came together with Stokes and Media to culminate our skills together as far as bringing education and awareness to authors and people who want to write books. We decided to come together and do the Authorpreneur's Roadmap to Success because we found that a lot of people had the ideas but didn't have the tools to get the job done. So we decided to get experts in the field to come together and basically give advice about how to publish, edit, and market your book in the industry. So tonight we have Pam Perry on the line, but before we get to that, I'm going to toss it over to Nadia Mathews, and she is going to read Pam's bio.
Hello, everybody. Welcome tonight. She actually let me read the bio. I'm really excited about it. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Detroit native Pam Perry is an award-winning social media, marketing, and PR pro. She's a radio host, an author, content curator, and she's a branding superstar. As a PR coach, she's worked with nonprofit organizations, churches, entrepreneurs, and best-selling authors. She was selected twice as one of the top 50 entrepreneurs by Black business women online and was featured on Brand Makers News as one of the top 25 urban professionals to follow on Twitter. Pam Perry has redefined the definition of success, mastering her craft with over 2 decades of experience in public relations and advertising. Perry has had clients featured in Essence, Ebony, Jet, Black Enterprise, O Magazine, The Today Show, Tavis Smiley Show, TBN, Daystar, just to name a few. Some of Perry's speaking and workshop topics include book marketing and publicity 2.0, author branding and platform building, social media for baby boomers and non-techies, how to develop a network for business success. It is Pam Perry's ultimate goal to get her clients red carpet ready while showing them how to brand like a superstar. Please, everyone, welcome Miss Pam Perry.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for that introduction, guy.
You are welcome. We are so excited to be here. I have been following you for a couple of years. As the email I sent you suggests, I am a social stalker. I can't help it. It's in me. but you have just been giving us so much great content, so much great information, and I knew that you would be an asset to the show today. So I want to just jump off and say the number one question that we get over everything else, Miss Perry, is how can I call you Pam? Is that okay?
Please call me Pam. Miss Perry makes it sound like I'm 100 years old.
Trust me, it's definitely out of respect. I really respect who you are, and so that's where it comes from. You are not an old lady with your fly self. I see that avatar. You're too fly to be out. Okay, so the number one question we get is what do I do? I have, I've put this book out. I focused on the cover. I have some great content. I did the editing right and everything. And now my book isn't selling. I mean, my mama bought it. My cousin bought it. My auntie bought it. And now it's not selling. So the number one question we get is how to market the book. So I kind of want you to start off with really talking about what you do and tell us the difference between marketing, branding, and PR.
Okay, it's a mouthful there. Well, first of all, when someone comes to me and they've already done the book, that's a different kind of scenario because they've spent some money and they put some time into it. But I asked them, I said, why would someone buy the book? And it really lets me know whether it's going to be about vanity or if it's really something that they've done the research for and they know that this is something that the market wants. Now, if it's vanity, if I say, well, it's my story, it's my testimony, I really do think that it'll help people. And I said, so it's an event? It's just one series of an event, like one event that really, it's like, yes, my testimony of like when I was in a car accident. I said, okay. I said, could that have been a story? You know, just like a magazine story. Could you have probably have got that in Ebony Magazine, or maybe even be a part of a story of Gospel Today, or maybe part of Oprah Magazine? Could have been like just a magazine article. Maybe you could have done a feature. Maybe you could have wrote a blog post. And then they kind of give me that look like, but I wouldn't have a cover. I wouldn't have my name on the spine. I wouldn't be signing books, and I wouldn't have the red carpet. And, you know, so it really comes down to that. Like, why did they write the book? Why did they write it? Did they write it to be famous, or did they write it to really say this is a book that needs to be on a shelf in the library? Or is it a story that could be in a magazine and then we're done with it? And a magazine, hey, if it's an old magazine, it reaches, you know, thousands and thousands of people. You may do a book, and the average book only sells about 1,000 copies.
Hmm.
Wow.
That's a great point.
So what do you want to do? I mean, it's a lot of money if you want to spend just to have for that vanity reason. You've got to create a brand. You've got to create an email list. You've got to do a website. You've got to brand. You've got to get pictures. How committed are you to this? If you're committed to it because you want to be seen or known, I think a lot of people are faint-hearted, and then they go away and they just say, you know what, it's not really worth that. Yes, I will probably write a blog and share it with some people on social media because it's a good story. I'm not denying that it's probably a good story, but is it a book? Is it a one-book wonder? Is it only one book? If it's only one book, you're not an author. That's a blog. And really, if they don't really sell it, it's just a journal.
Wow.
That's a great point. Do you have a lot of authors back out when you have that type of conversation with them?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I'm the only one. I'm really real. I'm really real. I tell people like it is. I says, you know, I've seen a lot of books that, and I have what I call, you know, people don't buy ugly houses. They will buy ugly houses, but they don't buy ugly books. And they don't buy orphan books or lonely books or bad books. They don't. I mean, so I have a basement full of books that just didn't make it anywhere, and I wish they would have come to me before they wrote the book so we can shape the book if it's going to sell. And sometimes I says, you know, maybe your story is, I won't say that the story isn't good. I said, but maybe you should go into an anthology. You ever thought about that? I said, maybe write Chicken Soup for the Soul. I mean, get your book together, your little story, good in a Chicken Soup for the Soul. There was chicken soup for everything. Or even spearhooded your own anthology with something that has the same theme. I'm telling you, there is over 500,000 books a year competing with each other and the books the previous year. So what makes you think that this book is something that everybody's going to buy? At the average, if it's a good book, it will sell probably 10 to 15,000 copies for that year. That means you've got to be pushing 1,000 copies a month.
Wow.
People don't even have an email list of 1,000 people.
Right.
They don't even have Facebook friends for 1,000 people.
Wow.
So I'm always just trying to help people say, you know what, there's a better way to tell your story, and there's a better way to spend your money. Unless you just want to spend money to look popular, to look like you're a celebrity. And we're in a celebrity-driven society. Oh, my God. I mean, so you've got someone who's going to sell someone this a type of program that says, okay, we can make you a star in a minute. And people are lined up down the street thinking that's going to happen. It's kind of like that whole thing, like, you know, lose 10 pounds in 10 days.
Right,
you know,
right.
It's not going to happen.
Or write a book in 30 days.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. Okay, you write a book in 30 days, and what's going to happen with that? Nobody's going to buy it.
Right.
It's a bunch of junk.
Right.
It takes a good year for a book to be marketed properly, and it takes longer. People don't like to hear this, but it takes a long time to write a good book.
Yeah.
A long time. You can write it and you can dump it, and then there's a process of editing that may take another 6 months.
Very true. So your recommendation for people before they even come to you is to figure out their why. That's what I kept hearing you say. You said, why am I writing this book? So what is the answer to the why that they can actually come to you? Like, what should their answer be when they know they're ready for somebody like Pam Perry?
Well, if they know the reason, sometimes you can't really, I deal with a lot of Christian authors, so it's very touch and go. So they'll say, well, God told me to write it. Okay, so I can't argue with God. Obviously, I can't trump God. If God told you to write it, then obviously I can't say anything to that. And I just look at them and I said, did he give you a clue of how you're going to market it to?
Right.
I'm interested in that.
So they are like, I said, well, you need to go and listen some more, because I'm telling you right now, he may have told you to write it, but I don't know about how this is going to be marketed. And really, a lot of it just has to do with really studying the industry. So this is what I tell people, really, to go to writers' conferences, read Writers' Digest, read the Writers' Yearbook, really become a student of the industry. Go to writers' conferences. Stalk me on social media for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I have a questionnaire that I give people before they even become a client, and I ask them some simple questions, and some of them are, have you ever been on a podcast? Have you ever been to a book signing? It is surprising to me. Oh, my goodness. It is so, I'm like, this is what they call clueless. They want to write a book. They want to have this elaborate book signing and have people winding around the corner, and they've never been to a book signing themselves.
Right. That's a great point.
You reap what you sow. I said, if I were going to write a book, I would go to every author book signing that I can to find out what it is that they're doing right and find out what they're doing wrong. But people don't do that. So they just see the outside. They see someone that had a book signing, or someone who had a book seminar, or someone who spoke, because this really speak to sell. So they're speaking at some event and they sell all their books. And it's like, I want to do that. But they have no idea on the back end what it took for them to even get there. I have one author, Dr. Rosalynn Tompkins, and she is a pastor. Yeah, so that's part of it. So she has an audience there, but she also has a wide-reaching audience because she does a lot of video YouTube. She does a lot of speaking on podcasts, and so her net reaches a lot wider. So I was telling people, so what's your audience? And if they say, well, my audience is everybody. I said, no, your audience isn't everybody, sweetie. I said, the only person who has a book, whose book is for everybody, that's the Bible.
I knew you were, yeah.
I said, but everything else has a market. Everything has a market. So tell me, what research have you done on that market? What are their hot buttons? What are they buying? Who are their competitors? I mean, it's so much. It's all in the research. And it's not fly by the seat of your pants. Like you said, write a book in 30 days, get a cool cover, throw it out there, put it on Amazon.com, and everybody could download on their Kindle. I'm like, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not.
Right. And everybody is doing it, so to speak, because that's what Nadia and I run into, but they're not doing a good job of it because it's very subpar quality as far as even just the content itself. Like, forget the great PR campaign or branding that you put on your platform. I have found that the content is poor, and to me that always makes me cringe. And the second thing that makes me cringe is what you just touched on. You said that people say, oh, my book is for everybody. I'm like, they have done no research. Right. They have no clue about where they're selling this book. They don't even know how to begin selling this book, because it's a thin line, well, actually a broad line, between writing a book and selling a book. Like, that's two different sides of the brain, and I don't think people really understand how to do both well. So that's why they always employ people to help them, get a team together. So if you had any advice for self-published authors, like if they couldn't afford necessarily a marketing team, do you have some pointers of who or what they should have in their like marketing toolbox, or so to speak?
They need a coach. They need someone who is going to make them avoid the pitfalls, someone who's going to be real truthful with them, someone who's going to keep them accountable. Because for a lot of authors, this is just a part-time gig. This is something that I want to do. This is a dream. This is something that I just really think I should do, but I'm not really. So they need a coach that says, okay, if you're going to do this, A, B, and C, this is what you need to do. Let me know what you're going to do by next week. Let me see it. You need someone that's going to, because if not, the book will just be that pipe dream that you would never. So they need a coach. They need a slamming website. Now, I'm not talking about pictures and, colors. I'm talking about something that is search engine optimized, something that is sticky, that make people want to stay on it, something that is content driven, very, very rich and deep, something that will make them rise to page one on Google rules. So if you say, oh, I got a website and I got it, God forbid, for Vistaprint. And I'm like, okay, that's not a website. Or I got it from GoDaddy. I'm like, that's not a website. You need something that is done by someone who knows search engine optimization. You need a WordPress site or blog so that you will know what keywords, that when people are looking for whatever subject, that you rise to the top as a subject matter expert. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, it's just like you're just making noise. It's a very expensive hobby if you just want to be an author and you're not doing it right. I would rather take my money and go on a cruise. I really would. I mean, the thousands of dollars people spend, it's like, you know what? Write a blog and go on a cruise. What are you trying to do?
So,
wow.
Pam, what's a realistic budget? Because I think that's the other part to this what we're talking to the coin, because self-published authors already don't have a lot, so they don't really know where to begin. So what they want to coach, but they don't know how much they should allocate in the budget to spend. So
yeah, Nadia, that's always a funny question, because so say for instance you want to buy a car and you really, really want a Mercedes, and it's like, I really want a Mercedes, but you don't have the money for a Mercedes. One or two things. Either you say, okay, what can I get with the money I have? Okay, if I can get a Ford Focus, then okay, then let me see what I can do with that. If you really, really want the Mercedes, then you're going to wait maybe 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, and save for it because you really want it. Now, you could get anything at any price at any time. You could spend $500 and it's going to look like it. You could spend $5,000, it will look like it. You spend $10,000, it will look like it. So it's really relative. But at the very minimum, I would say if you are trying to sell at least 10,000 books a year, a really book that will say, okay, you self-publish and say you're going to sell 10,000 books, 15,000 books a year, get the attention of a New York publisher, a Random House, or whatever publishing house that you would think that you should go with. Get an agent. If you're selling 15,000 on your own, you probably have spent about $15,000.
Wow. That's going to scare a lot of people listening to this.
Yeah,
I don't think they're ready.
But I'm just saying, I mean, that's an author that's on the track to say, I want to be a full-time author, not I want to be an author on the side just so I can brag at Christmas that I have a book.
Mm.
So do you not recommend people to, take up being an author as a side hustle or a side gig, even if they still have a full-time job? Or are you saying that in order to be successful, you have to do it full-time?
Well, if they want to be an author full-time, they've got to make a commitment to it. So just like anything. So if you only want to write one book one time, I call that a vanity book. And then just know that that's a vanity book. You wrote one book. That's your goal. Then that's fine. You could spend $5,000, write that one book. You could sell it over the next 15 years if you want. That's your one book wonder. So that's okay if that's your goal. But I'm talking about someone like maybe Dr. Patricia Bailey or Dr. Cindy Trim or Michelle McKinney Hammond. Some of my authors like Ken Brown, he spent a lot of money making sure that he was, gets to speak on the platform with like Les Brown and Miles Monroe, or Kim Brooks, who has a book publishing deal 2 or 3 times, full-time author, when you say someone is a full-time author, that takes a lot of commitment. It took a lot of money to get there. If you just want to write a book and then speak once in a while, just have the book, there, you could probably do it for $5,000.
Okay.
And that will be fine. If you want to have a coach, I mean, roughly a coach can be anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month, depending on the level of the coach that you have. But again, the coach is not going to do the work for you. The coach will share their resources, their make recommendations for you, will give you their connections, which are priceless, will show you if you're going to waste money, will show you a quicker way to even save money. So it just depends. I have seen people that say, well, Miss Perry, I really just think this is going to be a New York Times bestseller and I'm going to get on Oprah. I said, well, what's your budget? Well, I don't have a budget. And then I just say, you know what, I can't help that. It's like, so you're going to sell millions of books, but you have no budget. That's unrealistic. And yes, maybe it does happen once in a while with a story that's very, very phenomenal. I can probably think of one book like that happened for, and that was Chicken Soup for the Soul. You'll hear Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen talk about that, but they put in some sweat equity.
They did.
I mean, they had the phone plugged to their ear like 24/7.
They were pounding the pavement to get that book out.
And people don't want to, and some people don't want to do that. They figure if they get on this, watch this Google Hangout, that they're good.
That's definitely kind of what me and Nadia have run into, like people that just have unrealistic expectations about publishing. And like I was telling Nadia earlier, and we always having these different conversations, like publishing, the steps are easy. Like put it on Amazon,
create space.
Go on Twitter and put a tweet about the book. But the actual groundwork to even get you there, that's the stuff that people don't want to commit to. Like I've met so many people that say, I want to write a book, and they have not written anything. They haven't even started a blog or all those other things that you recommended.
Or don't have a Facebook page or have no social media presence whatsoever. I'm telling you, how do you expect, who's going to buy your book if you don't even have a social media presence?
Right.
Exactly.
Social media has really been the game changer. I remember when I first started promoting authors, and it was the old school way where they would write a book and you would do a press release and you would send out to the email and you would try to get the media to pick it up and you would secure media interviews for them. And that was cool. That was really the old school way. And, MySpace came along, and then I just told my authors, I said, you know what? Because you saw artists do it, recording artists do it. It says, let's get a MySpace page so that we can really connect with their readers. And, a lot of authors didn't want to do that. They still wanted to feel like they were celebrity and that they couldn't really associate or fraternize with their readers.
I understand.
And I said, it's changing. I said, it really is becoming more personal. I said, you've got to get in there and get in the trenches. So a few of them did. They embraced it. And it was, I think you were saying that it is two different types of mind, especially for a fiction author. Now, nonfiction authors, they can kind of get with it a little bit easier. But if you're a fiction author, it's a little bit harder because to write a fiction book is really about characters and dialogue. It's a different type of writing versus a nonfiction author. They really are writing to speak because everything that they're writing can really be spoken. Whereas you can't really speak an author's fiction book. Right. So they have to create a platform on whatever the book was about. But once they started doing that and they realized how quickly they could sell books because people were excited to really meet and greet and hear the process of how an author writes the book, what they're going through. I mean, it just was a game changer. And then Facebook, oh my God, that took it to a whole nother level. And then Twitter took it to another level. So every single step about writing the book and social media has really been the game changer. So much so that a lot of the publishing houses, marketing departments just really started going away because they realized they did not need as much traditional media anymore. They were really relying on the authors to create their own brand on social media. At first they fought it, but then they realized that they had to do it. And so a lot of times people will hire me to be like their ghost tweeter or their ghost blogger because they don't want to do it, which is fine, but they know that they have to appear like they're doing it even if they don't do it themselves.
What social sites do you feel like every author must be a part of?
Well, the main thing is blogging. I always say that's the base, so they have to have a blog. Now, if they don't want to write, they can do a video blog. So obviously then you're using YouTube. And then you have to use Twitter because Twitter is a microblog. So that really broadcasts your blog. You just can't have a Twitter and not have a blog because Twitter is really, that's why it was created. Facebook, because then you could network your blog within Facebook. So those are like the big three, so to speak, the blog, the Facebook, the Twitter. There's some other stuff, depending on, there's Pinterest, there's Google Plus, and there's Instagram. I love Instagram personally. I just really love Instagram. But, it just depends. There's some people that aren't even on Instagram. I'm just the type of person where I'm always feel like I have to be on the cutting edge. I get bored with certain social media. So that's why I'm on Instagram, because I just knew. I'm just bored with Facebook, bored with Twitter. And,
but Pam, listen, I have people now. They have written a book, they have a Facebook, they have a blog, they have a Twitter, they have everything that you just named, but they are still not selling books. What are they doing wrong?
Well, I'd have to see what their blog looks like. Is it optimized correctly? Like I said, if the search engines aren't picking it up, they are just basically, they just have a page that's out there just making noise. So if it is optimized correctly, within a month, whatever the keywords are that they want to be known for should rank. And when people are looking, they have to have someone who knows what they're doing in terms of search engine optimization. And we work with someone. And so we'll ask them, what are the keywords that people will be looking for? Within a month, if people are finding them and it's good content, then the website, the blog site should be doing the marketing for you, but it takes money to get it up to that point. You just can't throw it up there and then say, well, I'm doing a whole lot of this and that. I even see people who do YouTube videos and they don't even optimize them correctly, like with their name. And it's like, how is anyone ever going to find it if it's so much information out there? So it has to be the point where people find you. So say, for instance, give you an example. Kim Brooke wants to be known as the person that talks about single and dating and celibacy and Christian dating and all of those type of words. When someone is looking for that online, she should be the go-to expert on that. And she just can't say, well, I'm going to blog about this because I feel like this. No, it's very strategic in terms of when you write the blog, what keywords you use, and then making sure that you're tagging everything properly. And so when people say they have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, this and that, but if they're not really have that strategy of like how it's optimized so that it can land on page 1 of Google and spot 1 of Google, that's the whole point. So SEO is its own, I want to say it's its own industry all by itself. It really is. Facebook, Twitter, all that is just really to lead people like the breadcrumbs to that blog site. But the traffic should be going from that WordPress blog. Because a lot of people say, well, how did you find out about it? Google. How did you find out about Google? How did you find out about Google? So it's not like I'm going out there and I don't even have to market for months and months and people still find me. Probably 3 or 4 times a week, I have people that inquire about my services. It's not because I'm doing anything like pounding the pavement. It's optimized for the people that I know that really are interested in what I do. And that's so important. So if they have all those things and it's like, okay, well, something's not working, then look at your SEO. Look at what's optimized. Look at your competitor. What keywords are they optimized for, and what do you have to do in order to get where they are?
And then how long do you think that takes to do that, like to get yourself up and running with SEO optimization and things of that nature? Like, how do you think? How long does it take to get on the front page of Google?
I would say, at the very least, 30 days, but realistically, probably 90 days. And you really don't even produce a blog unless you have 15 to 20 keyword-rich blog posts. So people will do a blog and they say, well, I got blogs. I wrote 3 blog posts. No, I'm talking like 20 deep keyword-rich blog posts. And that just blows a lot of people away because it's like, I don't want to do all that. Well, then you won't be found.
And I think it really separates the real writers from the bunch. You know, if you say you're really going to write this book, then you have to be able to produce content about the book and, you know, create stories around the book. You know, it helps you get out of the mold of just, oh, I just wrote this book, that's it. So I think that really translates a person from just an author to an authorpreneur, because I think it's a big difference.
Absolutely. What do you think?
Content is key.
What do you think is the next thing that an author needs to focus on? So now they're working on the SEO. What are some other things that they can do to sell their book from a marketing standpoint?
I would say just really learn the industry. Just not even author marketing, but just marketing in general. I mean, there's so many books out there now, and I just tell people, I said, learn your industry. Learn the publishing industry one. So make yourself frequent, Barnes & Noble often. See what's in the front of the store. Look at what the covers look like. Look at everything. I mean, know your top 10 competitors and look at why they're selling and what makes their brand strong and what is it you need to do. I'm not saying you copy them, but obviously if you're in a certain industry, you want to know why they're the top and why you're not. So you look at that, and I would say just read. I mean, there's so many good books out there. I mean, if nothing else, it said if you don't have time to read the dummies books. I mean, there's dummies for this and dummies for that, or the complete idiot's guide to this and complete idiot's guide to that. Read those because they break it down so simple. Follow people on blogs that write about books. I mean, I like Pro Blogger. He's really good. Darren Rouse. That's because I'm really, I really believe in blogging. I mean, there's just so many. Steve Harrison is a really good one. I promote his stuff a lot, and people, it's really like saying the same thing all over and over again. But you'd be surprised how people just don't know that. I just say just educate yourself because it avoids so many errors. And I write a blog. It's like the top 10 things that you shouldn't do. That's in my book, Synergy Energy. But it's surprisingly, I mean, when people come to me and I say, what have you done for your book? And it's nothing other than just writing. I said, well, how do you build your brand? What are you doing for it? And so just having access to writers' conferences, go to at least one. If you're a Christian writer, just Google ACW. I think it's American Christian Writers, ACW. acwriter.com, AC Writer for American Christian Writers, and then the Writers Digest. Oh my God, they have writer conferences all the time. And people say, well, that costs a lot of money. And I always tell it this little trick. I said, if you don't have the money and you really have the heart, call the conference producer and ask them if you can work for basically conference. Instead of holding work for food, you work for conference. So you go to the conference and you assist the conference producer because you really want, and obviously you got to pay to go to the conference, fly in and hotel. But the conference itself, if you are willing to exchange your time to help the conference producer to just be in the room, that I'm telling you, the Book Expo America, BEA, or the Christian Writers, those ones I make the ones, my authors that are really, really serious, I make them go. And it's like night and day. It's like scales fall off their eyes. They're like, oh my God, now I see. And if nothing else, it makes them realize what the competition is and how they have to step it up. It's kind of like with my daughter. I have a teenage daughter. And, I said, you're not, you graduate from high school and you got this good grade, your National Honor Society. I said, but when you go to college, it's a lot of smart kids. And they're all like probably 4.5 GPA. I said, so you need to go to this big school and realize that there's a lot of people out there. So you've got to step up your game. Your game was good for high school, but now we're playing in a different field. And the only way you're going to know that is just to get out there and to see, just show up. I would say those that show up, go up. And if you do show up in the room and you are looking there like you got your eyes wide open like, oh my God, then that's when I know. That's when I know you got it and you're going to really get serious about this thing.
Wow. It almost sounds like you're recommending that people have a marketing strategy before they even publish a book.
Oh, yeah. I would tell it to people. I said, before you even write a word, I said, write your marketing plan for the book. And a lot of people said, well, I wrote the marketing plan. I said, let me see it. And I look at it, and I said, it doesn't look like you're going to sell a lot of books. And then they said, well, I shouldn't write it. I said, well, unless you find another book. I said, this one is not going to sell.
Wow.
And so they said, well, what should I do? I said, well, blog. And a lot of people, too. A lot of people blog first, and they have, Michael Hyatt did that. I mean, he blogged, and then people just really loved his stuff, and then all of a sudden he turned into a book. And then he had the pin-up demand, and people bought the book. So, it's okay. I mean, you don't have to produce a book right away. You could blog for several years, and if people are commenting on your book, on your blog, and they're really saying, oh my God, I love your stuff, then that's when you can flip it and then say, okay, I'll start writing my book and start marketing, because now you have an audience.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your recommendations? Because that sounds very easy for like a nonfiction writer. How would a fiction writer start a blog to then translate into, writing a full book? Like, what were your recommendations for that?
Yeah, a lot of times it depends. One or two things. Either they go with the platform that they're always going to write about. My Christian authors tend to write about the same type of issues. All right. It always comes back to God. It always comes back to that point where they want people to feel uplifted and motivated.
Okay.
If they have a certain platform that they are really, like Michelle McKinney-Hammond, obviously hers is about dating, relationships, and singleness, and Kim Brooks as well, or Stacey Hawkins Adams, hers are always have to deal with issues around women. So they'll write about those issues that deal with the platform. It's like what their characters go through is what they would write about in a nonfiction way.
Wow.
The other part could be that they write about, that's one way. The other thing is they write about the process of writing, which is very, very, there are a lot of authors out there that love that. They write about character, they write about tone, they write about scenes or the research that they do, especially for historical novels. They'll talk about that process. And it's like you're really involving your reader in the process that you're taking in order to craft that novel. And it does really make a difference, and you kind of give them a little bit of samples of that as well. So, one or two ways. You can write on the platform, or you can write on the process of writing.
Wow. That is awesome information. Awesome. So tell me, go ahead, Nadia. I'm sorry. Did I cut you off?
I was just gonna ask, are there some specific questions that an author should ask if they are bringing a publicist on? If they're bringing someone like you on, what type of questions should they ask?
What type of questions? Well, basically, the publicist will be asking them the questions like, what is your budget? What's your target audience? But really, they should ask the publicist what kind of audience is their reach. So for me, primarily I'm AACM, African American Christian market or African American consumer market. So obviously, if it's not that market that you really want to, get, then I'm not the publicist for you. You want to ask them what type of authors they've represented, and if they're very similar. And that's really like the main thing. If you represent authors that are very similar, then you know that they have a trail of media contacts that will really be the same for them. I will tell people a lot of times, though, that if they don't have a budget yet, don't find out what someone, how do I say this in the right way? Find out what someone does cost or what their fee is, but don't waste their time. Don't waste your time. That's just rude. If you know, for instance, if I know that I want to buy, a very, very expensive car, and I know good and well I'm not going to sit there and just talk with the salesperson back and forth and waste all his time so that he can't really go and help the people that really do have the money to afford them. So, either save or that sort of thing. Or I give out a lot of free information. So, you could buy books, or you could read my blog, or you can watch all the videos. So I tell people either you have money or time. Either you invest your money, or you can invest a whole lot of time. Because I can invest a whole lot of time in order to learn what I did. So that's one of the things I tell people a lot. But I have the book, Synergy Energy. on Amazon. They could download it, and I have checklists in there, what to do, to get started, what makes it a bestseller, to take an IQ, I tell them to take a book marketing IQ test. I tell them what to do monthly, weekly, daily to market their book. I tell them what to do like 1 year before the book is out, 8 months before the book is out, 7 months, 6 months, 5 months. It's written out. I can't get any more what I call idiot proof than that, other than the fact that if you don't read it, I mean, I try to give it so that I don't do it for you, but I have written it all down.
Right.
There's some publicists that go like paper placement, and you could kind of do that if you want. I just kind of think that you really need to work with the publicist to shape what it is that you really want to do. I mean, paper placement could be say, oh, well, I just want to get in such and such. And they could put you in that one thing, but then while they're doing that, they could uncover some other media opportunities for you, but you only wanted this one, so you miss out on the other one. So I always say just, go, when you're going to work with the publicist, do it as a retainer. A retainer for a publicist is start at like, $1,500. Well, some can go lower, but a real good publicist, $1,500 up to $5,000 a month, depending on the market. If someone says, oh, I could be your publicist for $300 a month, that's probably not going to get you anything.
Gotcha.
Truthfully.
So, do you have any recommendations? Because you're giving some awesome information. Because this is things that I needed to hear too as well. Because I've written 2 books, but I wanted to know: do you have any recommendation of how to help people not get overwhelmed? Because you're saying these authors, they've written a book, and now you're telling them they need to write a blog to get people to want to buy the book, and then they also need to tweet. They also need to have all these social media outlets to lead back to the blog. So can you help? You have some recommendations of how they can, not get so overwhelmed? Because then, what if they're working on another book? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it's almost like, I remember I had one author that told me, this says, it's almost like I feel like I'm schizophrenic because I've got to write the book, I've got to, really work on the craft of writing, and then at the other side, I've got this whole other thing where I've got to market the book, I've got to do the social media, I've got to interact with the readers, and it's like it's 2 different minds. And so I told him, I said, okay, well, if I could give 10 tips, and this is really like this really simple 10 tips of what they could do, and this is kind of like an ongoing. I have a thing what you do monthly, weekly, daily in the book, but the main thing is to send out a news release regularly. It's amazing. I mean, I'm a publicist. It's amazing how many people say they want publicity and they don't even send out a news release regularly. At least once a month. And where would they send it? They can put it on blacknews.com and do that once a month. And if you've got to find the right angle, the right hook, but at least once a month do a news release, because you won't get any publicity if you never disseminate a press release. That's simple. So for 12 months, so put January, what your angle will be. Obviously people are thinking about getting their self in line in order. February.
hello, are you still there?
We're not sure what happened.
I don't know either. But anyway,
okay. So the last thing we heard was February. Wow, right. I don't know.
Yeah. For February, then make sure that you have, an angle or a hook for every single month. Black History Month is a real big month. Valentine's Day, March, Women's History Month, April, spring, so you get the whole picture. So do that every single month. How much does it cost? I say blacknews.com because that's what I use, but you could use PR Newswire, you could use whatever. They'll cost somewhere between $200 to $250 a month. Okay, so I've got to spend at least $250 a month to disseminate the press release. That's not even writing the press release, that's just disseminating it. Okay, then write articles, how-to articles. So get like the Writer's Digest and figure out what magazines would my audience who would buy my book, what are they reading? So go and figure out, okay, we got 12 months a year, so let me look and see if they're going to be Gospel Today, if they're going to be, whatever they are, if they're Essence, write articles and pitch magazines, or trade publications or other magazines. I mean, there's so many little magazines that are on Facebook and that sort of thing. So you want to write just figure you're going to do 12 articles a month and disseminate them in other publications. All right. Go on a speaking circuit. Make sure that you know where your audience is. That's why research is really, really important. So know your audience. Where are they? Are they going to be in church? Are they going to be at the Jack and Jill? Are they going to be in Links? Whatever they are, find out where your audience is. Approach the organization and ask them to, tell them send them your book, your press kit, and then say, I'd like to speak for you, whatever, whatever. All of this is timing. It's just strategy. If you're not a good speaker, then I would say either join Toastmasters or NSA, National Speakers Association, because that just helps you. Create a blog site. That's just a given. SEO, have reciprocal links, whatever, whatever. Publish a newsletter just once a month. Publish a newsletter with maybe use the content from the articles that you wrote for the magazine that you were writing. So just do that and make it jam-packed. Send it out to journalists. So along the way, always, it's so easy now. Oh, my God, it's so much easier now to find journalists now that we have Twitter and Facebook. So, start creating your own media list. And then once a month, send out your newsletter. It's not really asking anyone to buy the book, but it's just keeping it in front of them. I use Aweber. That's what I use. It has a great autoresponder. I do use Constant Contact, but my primary sales machine is Aweber as my autoresponder. And then get to know reporters. I always tell people, if you want, people come to me all the time, I want to get publicity, I said, well, do you know any reporters personally? I said, well, read what they write, and then retweet them, contact them, say hello, go to their conferences, whatever. Just they're people. The other thing I says is just, every community has a TV station, has a cable station that has a TV show. So, contact your local cable company and get on their public access channel. You have a good video that you can then put on YouTube, but you need someone to interview you. So I tell people, if you can't get on today's show, let's start with your local cable channel, okay? Let's see how you do there. Get that going, and then maybe pitch that to your local TV station, and then it could go on from there. And then just look for opportunities for photo ops. Local newspapers, TV shows, weekly shoppers are always looking for interesting photo opportunities. So if you have good photos of you in action, send them out. It's certain things when people say that they want PR, the basics of PR is like really just sending out that good content to the TV, radio, and the print publications. Give free classes, demonstrations. You could do that at adult ed programs. You could do it at colleges. You could do them at churches. Have that videotape. Have pictures taken of you. Social media is great, but if you're doing this with a strategy to get media, then you have to have a media list, and you have to know, okay, I'm gonna send this to them. And then the last thing is just participate in things like this: Google Hangouts, online discussions, Sister Sense. LaShonda Henry has, I think it's Black Business Women Online. Get involved in that. It's like 10,000 Black women in there. That's like a lot of the authors' markets. So, go on sistersense.com and get involved, get engaged. So many times I think the problem is that people are not consistent. So you can't be everywhere. But if, say, you are in Sister Sense and you're in that group, get involved in her on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, in her Ning group. But that will be your market. And then it'll build from that. I think there's a couple of people that were in her group that have gone on and really just broke out. I can't think of the lady's name, but she was on the cover of Black Enterprise magazine, and everything she learned was because she really started with her core audience, which was LaShonda Henry's Sister Sense.
Wow, that is, I am amazed. Like, I'm going to go back and listen to this recording, because those 10 things, I'm like, I didn't even think about that. Like the free class at the adult ed, I was like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that you have shared that with our audience, because
you see why I was stalking her? Do you see now?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I stalk people too, and it's so funny when I run up to them, when I finally meet them, they're like, I don't know you. I said, but
I don't know you.
How's your son? Some people come up to me in my family, we're at dinner or whatever, and they says, hi, Mark, hi, Aubrey, and they're going like, how do they know us? And this is all on Facebook. I'm like, oh my God. My daughter's like so embarrassed. It's like, I can't believe it. I put all my business out there.
I remember your daughter's graduation pictures. I was like, oh, she graduated. You got quite a few awards, right? You got
Yes.
quite a few awards. Yeah, I saw because she had a special ceremony. Yeah, see what I'm saying? I watched.
That was it. And that's what social media makes it so that's very personable because
Right.
people like to buy people they know, like, and trust. So if you know me, you like me, you trust me, you buy from me. So social media is a game changer. It really is. It's a good thing. People hate it, but it really is a good thing if you use it right. If your brand is pure, it's really good for you.
It is.
I agree. So tell me where people can give out your contact information because people are going to want to contact you after this because you have so much information.
I know. It's so funny. I tell people, I said, Google Pam Perry, see what comes up. No. PamPerryPR.com. And that's really it. That's like the hub of everything I do. At the bottom of the page is every single social media that I'm on. And people are like, I didn't even know this was a thing. So... part of it is that I do it because I teach it, but part of it is that I do it because I'm really, really a frustrated techie. So I'm on every social media down at the bottom. My favorite at the time is Instagram. That's what I like right now. Google Hangout is cool too. I do like Google Hangouts, but like I said, Instagram hits my Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, and Tumblr all at the same time. So that's the one that I use the most. It may be different next year, but PamPerryPR.com. And then I have a coaching class. They can click the button if they're an author. I have a coaching class. It runs every Tuesday. And it could be for an hour for 4 weeks, or they could do 8 weeks. It just depends if, how bad they really want to get beat up. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, we thank you.
But it is. It's one of those things. I really want people to be a success. I don't want people to spend a lot of money and not sell books. I'm serious. I have a lot of books in the basement that are these people send me, and before I even started this though, really, this is years ago, before it really became popular, people doing, I used to always go to bookstores and buy like the books that no one bought. I did. I bought those books. And I would write the author. This was years ago. I'm talking about like the 90s. And I would write the author, and I would say, these are some tips that you would do. Because I felt so bad. They were like orphan books, like that, like a humane society of books. I don't want to take them home. And I would write the author and say, this would help if you did this, or you change the cover, or change the title, and it started with that. And my first client, I remember, was Jewel Diamond Taylor. I don't know if you know her. She's an inspirational speaker. Fabulous. Oh my God, her stuff was so good, but it was packaged so poorly. But now, if you Google Jewel Diamond Taylor, she got that thing together. Yeah, she's got it together. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's just my passion.
That is awesome. Pam, we thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with our audience. And I'm so happy you touched on Instagram because actually on the 30th, we're interviewing Anthony A.J. Joyner, and he's like the Instagram king. So he's going to teach authors how to use Instagram to help them move some product.
Yep, that's good. That's good.
So if we got everything, Nadia, any more questions?
Thank you so much, Miss Pam. I will continue to stalk you. You already know it. All of our guests I happen to stalk, so I'm so glad that you gave us so much information today. I took notes. I was Facebooking, so that's why you saw me looking away, because I was taking notes.
Yeah.
So that I could.
Oh, yeah. If I didn't have my... Yeah, I meant to do that too. But I'll when this goes up, I'll actually retweet it and Facebook it out too as well. I usually do that live, but like I said, I was caught me off guard today.
No, it's okay. We're glad that you got in like in the last 2 minutes. We were nervous. I can't talk like Pam Perry. I don't know what we're going. So I'm glad that you got in. Well, thank you so much. You have a wonderful night.
All right, you too. Thank you, guys.
Have a good one.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.